the Great Yarmouth High returned the lowest GCSE results in the entire country. They were the worst school in the country. That's the reality. So this new head teacher's come in, looked at the GCSE results and went, well, this is utterly embarrassing. It's humiliating. We're the worst of the worst, and we're not going to have this anymore. We're going to drag everybody kicking and screaming into a world of standards, discipline, and better results. What is wrong with that?
It's not the rules. It's not necessarily all of what he's doing. Some of it is needed. It's wanted, and the parents desire their children to go there, learn, get an education, and come back with high grades. Sitting in silence all day long, unable to work in groups. Everybody needs to be able to work in a group. You go to employment and you've never worked in a group. How do you know if you're a leader, somebody who sits back and maybe picks other people up?
Well, what we do know is without any discipline, as was clearly the case before, the results were pathetic. And that doesn't help any kid that goes to that school. If I had a kid there, I would be utterly appalled. And by the way, I've got to say this is not aimed at you personally, but a lot of the parents who've been complaining about this, they've got to take a bit of responsibility too for these shocking GCSE results. So clearly, the schools, the parents, everyone involved in Great Yarmouth High, they've been diabolical in getting their kids to this level of the worst in the country. So I do have sympathy with this head teacher.
He hasn't changed all the teachers, though. He brought in a few new teachers, but his reaction is it's the children and the parents' fault, not the schools last year. They picked their pupils from the same catchment area as the other schools in the area, which didn't fail.
And I think a lot of people, and I think our Twitter poll shows that parents, viewers support discipline in schools. But let me give you an example of one of these rules. We don't pretend we didn't understand. We don't selfishly start before receiving the teacher's instructions. We track the teacher, eyes on the teacher at all times, no eye contact with classmates, no turning around. Now, that sounds quite intimidating. If I've just started Year 7 and I'm told we don't pretend we didn't understand, what if I don't actually understand?
Well, I'm not going to criticise what Barry's trying to do there. As you know, Barry worked at Michaela School, one of the most, it's a unique school, and they have a very, very strict and quite unusual approach to discipline, but got outstanding across the board. So I'm not going to sit and criticise an individual rule. I support
you don't
what
understand
he's doing.
a teacher is absolutely vital for
Can I just say that Michaela School we keep hearing is amazing.
Have you been to it? I've been to it.
It hasn't had any
astonishing.
GCSE results yet, has it, to judge it from?
Astonishing.
It has
I've
had no
heard the children in
GCSE
Year 9
results.
speaking better fluent French than A-level
The
students.
bit I liked was number 11 in the rule book was if you pretend to be sick, we're going to give you a bucket. Then I'll be a bucket. If you vomit, no problem. You've got your bucket. So all your body needs is just to vomit. We have one of those here. When Susanna gets sick and tired of me, we just pull out the bucket and she quite regularly vomits into the bucket, and then we just carry on with the show. So I'm all in favour of I'm all in favour of the vomit bucket.
All right.
And this took place on Monday to a Year 7 student. He was ill in front of his classmate, told he was ill. They put the bucket on the table. He was sick twice, once missing the bucket.
I think that's quite practical. I think that's quite...
Your other pupils, you're being sick in front of other pupils,
but what he's trying to do,
and one of them is now off sick themselves because they've contracted it.
What he's trying to do is counter children that tried on, that want to go to the toilet all the time. You know, he knows what he's doing. We see this, and it does go back to what you were saying. You know, you could nitpick on a little rule and say this one's a bit extreme.
Isn't the point,
it's
isn't
about
it?
standards.
I agree. I don't think it's necessarily about every single thing of this big thing. What he's trying to do is take a collective mindset away from sloppy, lazy, underperforming, worst in the country, and drag everybody to a new mindset of discipline, hard work, attention, focus, and hopefully and probably better results. I don't see a problem. If I was a parent, I'd be applauding this guy. I really would.
We're in agreement on that, because it's exactly what we did at our school.
And I agree, and the parents I've spoke to, when I started this page up on Facebook, they agree that they want the results up. They just don't agree with everything, and he hasn't been approachable.
Some of the rules have been done, he's abandoned some.
And the response is, if you don't like it, your child and you are not the right parents of this school.
Right, but some of these rules, he's already... They've moved on some of them, right?
They wouldn't. It's only because the likes of yourself have given it press coverage, and that's what has done it.
But we're giving it coverage because I agree with it. I think that you can't just have a school like this in Great Yarmouth where you have the worst results in the country.
Whereas-
It's embarrassing for everybody.
It's also
in
the
Great
most
Yarmouth.
deprived town in the country, isn't it, as well?
And
But
Alison,
it's not
what
about
do you-
deprivation, is it? It's not
Isn't
about deprivation
surely
at all.
part of getting the standards up is having the parents and children on board?
Well,
and if
yeah.
so many of them, I mean, Kelvin, do you know how many people support your view that this is too much?
Well, there's the 1,200 people joined the page. At first, it was 300, which was before the press. So that was the parents.
these all
now,
parents?
No, it was at first when it was like reaching around 300. Now it's.
So there's hundreds of
Yeah.
parents, and you need the parents on
You
side
do.
and the pupils. There's no point in disciplining them and making sure they behave is one
You
thing.
do,
But putting all the onus on pupils as the ones behind the failure seems intimidating.
But the loudest voices are not always the most representative, and we had exactly this when we opened as a new school, and we had a very, very small but vocal number of parents that were against us, that threatened us, that went to social media, etc. But we had 100 times more support from the general public and from people actually around the world getting in touch and saying, we support high standards, we support your high expectations, we support what you're doing.
And the teachers are also involved in this. They have to subscribe to a certain rule book as well, right?
Yeah, but we've had emails from the teachers that are left and saying we did not leave because of the unruly kids. We left because of support from above. We left because of the area. We didn't want to bring kids up in that area. So it's not just the kids had like 16. Supply teachers. How did they get any consistency?
That's what happens in failing schools. You can't get staff that will buy in and commit to that. I should imagine a lot of those staff, I don't know, I would imagine from my experience, a lot of those staff left because behaviour was so poor and they couldn't teach, which is what they're employed to do.